Hello, and welcome to the Action Shooting Show. With me here tonight is Mark Rebke and Michael Ford. And as always, this show is sponsored by Primer & Co. I've got my Primer & Co. Feral hoodie on tonight. So go check them out at primerandco.com. So tonight we're going to get into how to prepare for a match. We'll say generally like a match maybe you've never shot before. It could be your first match ever, but in our case, we're going to talk a lot about the Wolverine 5K that me and Mike will be doing. But we're going to also kind of talk about broad as far as like if you've got a new match, say you're shooting a major match you've never shot or a match in a different sport. We're going to be talking about that. So hopefully we give you some ideas and some tips and tricks that can help you out to be a little more successful at your first match like that. So first thing would be signing up for the match. How do you find them? Practice Score, we've mentioned before, is a really good way, but probably the easier and more reliable way, because it's not always easy to find things in there, is meet people at matches and talk to them. Once you get plugged into that network, you get on some online message boards and Facebook groups, you usually find out about all the matches long before they're even on Practice Score, ready to be signed up for. So if you are a nice person and safe gun handling and not a dick, people will invite you to matches because they want to shoot with you. That seem pretty reasonable to everybody?
Yeah, but I mean, add in, so Practice Score, obviously, also Facebook, depending on what you want to shoot, there's probably a Facebook group for it. And then you can't forget old Brian Enos. There's enough people that hate Facebook as much as the rest of us and refuse to go on it. So they still use things like Brian Enos where there's match announcements, and then specific forums or the website for the competition usually will also have information. So a lot of the Texas and Oklahoma run and guns will have their own website. You can get information there. USPSA website has match listings there. Usually all these things are cross-posted and listed. You know, if it's on Facebook, it's on Practice Score, it's on Brian Enos, but there's a lot of different ways to go about it. So, you know, hit Google up, but yeah, those are the big three: Practice Score, Facebook, and Brian Enos, I'd say.
All right. So yeah, I wouldn't go in that too deep. So you signed up now, and one of the easiest ways to start gathering information is any pre-match emails. Most matches you shoot will send out an email once you've signed up, and it'll typically give you the information you need to know. A lot of times match books don't come out until like really, really close to the match, usually like a week or two, because they're still designing stages and getting details worked out. But most matches in this day and age will be releasing information ahead of time, especially with this, the social media age. So they'll have stuff on Instagram, they'll have releases on their Facebook page, their websites. Any of those places you get it, they'll be releasing relevant information, whether it's places to stay, stages, match, skills and things that you maybe have to do, anything special like that, ammo requirements. They'll kind of list that all ahead of time. So, Mike, you got anything to add to that?
Nope, that's a really good starting point.
How about you, Mark?
Yeah, just that even if you don't have the match book, you can get it usually a flavor of the match with general sort of research, Facebook, whatever. Like if it's a run and gun, they're going to say things like it's a 2-gun biathlon, you need to know this, you need to know that. If it's 3-gun, you can read the 3-gun rules for whatever outlaw or 3-gun nation match it is. If it's USPSA, it's the same standard rules of any local match. So you can get a general flavor before you even get into the specific match, and that will help you kind of pre-prepare, I guess, if you want to say. But yeah, they'll kind of give you that flavor before you get into the details of the match. There's going to be information just to start you off, I'd say.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, with that, when you're signing up, most of these matches are going to have multiple divisions. It's definitely important to read those division rules, read the equipment lists, and that sort of thing to see what division you want to sign up for. I think pretty much every match I've ever shot, you can switch, pretty much up till when you step up to the starting line. But in preparing and planning for the match, you really need to know what division. So we'll kind of give a good for instance here. So when we were looking into the Wolverine match and signing up, they basically have two different divisions. Equipment is pretty wide open, run what you brung. There's not any real restrictions like there are 3-gun. What is different is they have two divisions. You have, I think they call it recreational, and then you have hardcore. So with hardcore, you have to wear, on the ruck part, you have a 45 pounds of weight that you have to carry, either all in the backpack or backpack and plate carriers. I believe there's no GPS can be used in the land nav part, and there's a couple other little things like that. And this is a team match, so each competitor has to do that. And then you're able to get prizes. I guess there's a prize table for that. The recreational is only 25 pounds for the ruck, and you can use GPS. You can have other stuff, I guess. And there's no prize table for the recreational thing. So when we looked at that, we like to do the hardest thing possible, as we've mentioned in other episodes. So we decided, hey, we're going to go with hardcore. And with that, then we had to look through our equipment. I guess I forgot to mention in the hardcore, when you're shooting the stages, you have to wear a plate carrier, and it has to be like 14 or 15 pounds in plates, or 13 pounds or something like that. So we that was something you need to know if you're signing up. At that point when we signed up, I didn't have any of that gear, so that was, hey, I've got to add this to my wish list to have the equipment to run this. So in that case, there was some gear to buy. Normal, I don't recommend buying gear, but this is stuff I've looked at anyways, and other competitors in there either had it or were looking at it. So that's kind of what we looked at for this. So I don't know, is anything you've had to deal experience-wise with that, Mark?
I don't know. I just wonder, do you think that 15-pound plate carrier rule is just to help the poors, that can't afford those lightweight plates? Would you say that's one of those things?
I imagine they want actual rifle-rated plates, and not you can get some pretty thin, light plates that would stop pistols, and that's about it. So, Mike, you got
if
anything
I got
to
them
add?
on wish.com, they're good to go. I don't need to question that. If China says they're good to go, I believe in them. That's
They're
all
good
I need.
to go. Mike, you got anything to add about that as far as looking at divisions and planning that?
Yep. So, in our case, we're doing a team match, so there definitely had to be communication about what our team could handle and the training load and expectations. You can't go into a team match and be all gung-ho and then sign up with people who can't quite do the same workload as you. You won't have as much fun. They won't have as much fun if there's unrealistic expectations. And the same goes signing up for an individual match, something that's not team-based. Go and have good expectations of what you expect and that you can actually perform, and that can definitely help your experience as you're selecting those divisions.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. If you've never run a mile and you sign up for something like Heartbreak Run and Gun, which is a 10K ish, it's got obstacle courses, and you sign up a month ahead of time, that may not be enough time to train. Your health and fitness may not be where it needs to be to really enjoy that match. I'm not going to say don't sign up, because maybe that's what you need to get yourself motivated, but I think Mike's right. You know, make sure if it's a team match, you have realistic expectations with your teammates, but make sure you have realistic expectations with yourself as well, because it can be a lot less fun if you just are failing at everything along the way. I mean, it's good at times because it motivates you, but maybe there's a different match or a different division or something like that that is better suited for where you're at skill wise. Did you have something else to add, Mike?
Not on that particular topic as we move on, though. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we talked about division and equipment there. One thing that you can do, whether information's been released, you just first heard about the match, is in this day and age, if it's a pre-established match that's been shot before, it is really easy to get on YouTube, to get on Facebook, to get on Instagram, do some searching, and usually you can find videos from previous years. Sometimes they reuse stages and ideas, sometimes they don't, but generally same match director, same match, same area. You can get an idea what the range looks like, what the terrain looks like. Like if it's the same match director, watch a couple of years, you can kind of get a flavor for, I mean, each match director has their own flavor and kind of what they like to do. And maybe that's just that they like to do everything and it's really varied, but watching match videos is a really good way to kind of prepare for that. I guess, have you done that, Mark?
Yeah, I'd say that you can definitely get a feel from that. A lot of the sort of established guys, or, you know, let's go as far to say the pillars of the community, have a pretty established YouTube channel where they do every match. They have a match recon where they show you all the videos, and you can definitely tell there's different flavors to matches. Some are about realism, some are about, you know, how many kettlebells can you throw and how many sandbags can you carry. Some are more USPSA with run and gun involved, and you can kind of get the feel for that. And the same goes outside of run and gun as well. If we talk about 3-gun, there's certain matches that are more like, hey, how much long range can we put on you? How fast can you load a shotgun? Other ones are more like, all we can really do here is bay shooting, and so plan for bay shooting. Plan for quick rifle, you know, quick shotgun. Everything's going to be close, and you can kind of get a feel for that based on, you know, even not just looking at videos, but like look at what their range can do. You know, this range cannot shoot past 200 yards. Are you going to need to load up your special Gucci long range rounds, or can you just have your 55 grain blasters? You know, that's one of the things you can kind of pick up on by looking at that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Mike, you got anything to add with that?
Yep. And gear selection and stuff, you can learn a lot about the weather in that section of the country by watching the videos. If you watch Heartbreak, you'll get a good idea of what the people are wearing, some of the things you might experience in those videos. So you can pick up good intel besides just shooting stuff from watching videos.
Yeah, and don't discount the weather. That's a good point to add in that Mike said. You know, if you're going to be in the southeast, well, it's going to be warmer. It might be rainy. If you're in the southwest, it might be hot as could be. If you're up in the north, it could be snowing in the morning and, you know, t-shirts in the afternoon. So that's another thing to think about when you're preparing, you know, mentally and physically preparing for a match.
Yeah, those are all good points. I'll say, so for Wolverine, I went back and watched a lot of different match videos I can find, and this match actually has released videos that they've taken and stuff. And so, you know, I've learned some things. Quite a few of them have like bits of the movie, because this is a Red Dawn themed match. So it's got bits of the movies, and it's got sections of old stages, and you know, there's a lot of physical stuff. I know I've seen some videos of people doing stuff that the match book has mentioned will be in this match, so it kind of gives me an idea there. I've got a pretty good idea now from that, and like looking at aerial maps of like the range, like what kind of range it is, and it's same time of year every year, so I kind of get that, but just watching the match videos, like this match is very, I think Mark kind of mentioned like the throwing kettlebells, like it's very physical. There's a lot of physical things that you do as a team that you have to run, you have to do something with some heavy weights or a dummy drag or things like that, and do some shooting. So watching it, none of the shooting I've seen is any really, really crazy technical shooting. The shooting, and like it's like a lot of run and gun in those type of matches. It's a little bit on the, I'll say, easier side, except that the challenge comes in that, okay, well, I've just drug a 160-pound dummy for 25 yards. Now I have to draw my pistol and shoot, and I'm winded. My heart rate's, at 170, and I'm sweating, and, so yeah, a 15 or a 7-yard head box is not the most challenging shot in the world, but now it's a lot harder because I've got all this stuff going on and I'm racing a clock. So it's kind of giving me some ideas of what the general flavor is of this particular match. So that can, in this day and age, it's very advantageous to use those match videos.
Right. And so adding on to what you're saying too, with this idea of like, dragging a dummy, all right, you're winded. What about with gloves on? What about with muddy hands? They just made you do a belly crawl for 10 yards before you got there. Now your hands are wet. Do you have grip tape on your gun? Is it got that carbide grip? Are you used to shooting with gloves on, or as soon as you put that big old winter glove in that trigger finger, the gun goes off? Those are all things you can kind of get a feel for and practice ahead of time. And kind of, let's just say, I mean, this probably will never happen to anybody, but after dragging a 160-pound dummy, the world starts getting real dark and real scary. And you start thinking, I don't really feel comfortable being safe here. Like those are things you can work out ahead of time and start to figure out. And it'll help you in the long run. It'll help you enjoy the match more overall, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we'll talk about kind of using this information for training later. Did you have anything else to add, Mark or Mike, before we go on?
Nope, I think we touched on that pretty nicely.
All right. So another thing that you can do, which is maybe even better than video, is especially once you've gotten kind of plugged into a shooting community, is talk to previous competitors that have shot this match. Match videos tell you a good deal, but they don't tell you the whole thing. And I think a great example would be for a bunch of years, me and Mike, with varying team members, would shoot the Rock Castle, the Samson 3-man 3-gun. And if you would watch videos of that, you could get a good feel of the flavor, and they repeated certain stages. But what maybe didn't show up on the video was that it almost always rained, and before it almost always rained, it was hot as Hades. I mean, that was like, we would go shoot that match, we would drink water and Gatorade all day long and still leave dehydrated. So if someone were asking me about that match as a competitor, like, hey, what should I expect? That was something I would probably be telling them. It's an awesome match. Learn to, practice communicating with your partners and, lean on each other's skills, be prepared to swap guns, and make sure you hydrate well before and during, because it's going to be 95 degrees and, 96% humidity. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of that match. You won't get that in the match booklet. You won't get that in a video necessarily, but just talking to another competitor, you certainly will.
Yeah, one of the things you said there that could really help or hurt you is saying things like, be prepared to swap guns. If you go to a team match and you're thinking, well, I brought my guns, they brought their guns, and now I have to shoot a 2011 and I've never put my thumb on a thumb safety before, that's going to be a problem. If I'm only used to a Benelli M2 and somebody hands me a JM 930, now I need to learn malfunction drills.
Or a shot, an open shotgun. They hand you this open shotgun, and then you really got to learn to clear malfunctions. Maybe not more than the 930, but
Right. So those kind of little clues can make a huge difference. And so, yeah, definitely pick up that stuff if you can.
And I'm going to use this opportunity for a shameless plug of mill-based reticles, so everyone can be on the same page when you pick up a friend's rifle.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, generally being familiar with each other's gear. And yeah, if you're going out to a match with a lot of long range and you may be swapping rifles or making wind calls or something for each other, if you have the option to all have a reticle with the same, all mills or all MOA or whatever, that's probably a good advantage. But yeah, just talking to other competitors. And to bring this back to Wolverine, I talked to quite a few competitors that confirmed what I had already known, from watching the videos. They talked a little bit with me about the land nav part of it, which I guess this year, just from doing pre-match intel, the land nav's a little less restrictive less intensive than it has been in the past. But they've added a canoe part, which is totally different. So talking to competitors can confirm and definitely give you an idea. They mentioned a lot of things that we're now know better with. So, is that anyone else got anything to add before we go on?
I just add, I agree with Mike that it helps if everyone's on the same page with things like mill reticles or whatnot. But I would echo the thing that we've said from the beginning of the show is don't run out and buy gear before a match, just because you all want to be running the same thing. But if you're going to be connected with these people, maybe just in general, it's a good idea to be on the same page. If you guys are neighbors, friends in the same town, something to think about there. But don't feel like we all need to be running matching guns and everyone's got to have the same this and that. Just be aware of it. Take a range trip, go out and zero together, that sort of thing. And, I can't say that in this group, certain people will shoot each other's guns differently. Some people may struggle to zero their own gun and then have somebody else shoot that gun and then maybe shoot perfect groups. It's hard to say, really. You can't know until you try those things. And so I think those are good things that you would get as a team if you're focused on team type matches. So.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who shoots better groups than anybody else in this play. But yeah, those are both good points. We've gone out before, and like for instance, me and Mike shoot a lot together. We live close together, so we practice together when we get the chance. If your team is close in a team match, definitely do that. Outside of a team match, yeah, still it's good to if you're going to matches with other people and you share common gear. Good to squad together. It's good to if you have the choice, have compatible gear. But as Mark said, don't go out and buy something just because. Well, I want to match my partner, my guy I shoot matches with has a Glock, so I guess I'll go shoot a Glock. No, just buy some spare parts and both you guys shoot whatever gun you were shooting. So moving on. So we've gathered all this information for this new match or our first time match or whatever. Now that we've got this information, what do we do with it? And I think the most important thing is to make a plan on what you need to do to get better prepared to meet your goals. And I think we've kind of touched on it before, but most people going into a match have a goal. If it's your first match ever, that may be getting through it safely without getting DQ'd. If it's your first time shooting this match, what's your expectations? If you're a mid-pack shooter, maybe mid-pack at this different match is not reasonable. Maybe lower third is. If you're a top competitor, well, maybe it is to be first, second, third, whatever. But if all you've ever shot is so I'm a mid-pack 3-gun shooter. Let's not say I am a mid-pack 3-gun shooter. If I go into a different sport like run and gun, and I don't run a lot, it would be probably unreasonable for me to have an expectation that I'm going to win the match. That doesn't make sense. and I've never shot this match, so there's a lot of new things. So I kind of have to manage that expectation. But we have this goal. We know what we want to do. I think the next thing to do is how we use that, and that is planning and training are the two big ones. And that training is really dependent on what you've learned ahead of time. So I think we can let Mark or Mike kind of explain if they want to explain if things from other matches, and then I can kind of go into some of the things with Wolverine that I'm doing, and I think Mike can do the same. So if you want to start off, Mark.
Yeah, I would just say, if it's a USPSA, it's pretty standard. I've shot USPSA. I expect to do as good as I do at a local match. If it's run and gun, maybe, or a team run and gun like Wolverine, I may be thinking, well, I don't want to be the one that everyone's waiting on. So fitness is going to be my main goal. If I know that my fitness is good and I know that I'm still a mid-pack shooter, I'm not going to say that my goal is to be the best of our team. Maybe my goal is just to shoot clean. No missed targets, no failure to neutralize. That's what I want to add to the team. And so just realistic goals, and then you build on those things as you go forward would be a good way to start. And then, tailoring your training around those goals. So if I know I don't want to be the one that's holding up the team fitness-wise, well, 2 or 3 months ago, I need to be out on the pavement. I need to be using the rowing machine, biking, whatever it is, to get that cardio up or that fitness up. If I know that my pistol is the weak part, well, I need to be doing dry fire. I need to be doing, first of all, no matter what, everyone needs to do dry fire. We've repeated that several times in the show. You got to be dry firing. We're all slacking on that. We will always be slacking on that, but dry fire for sure, right? So those sort of things, just set incremental goals. We can always shoot for the moon, like, oh, we always win our local matches. We're going to be the top of this. And then you get out there and you disappoint yourself. You disappoint the team. Set realistic goals and then work towards those realistic goals so you can build on those. I think would be a good thing to do there.
Okay,
Yep.
I'll jump in here and I'm going to slightly go back to some of the planning stuff, but when you are traveling with a partner or a team to go to a match, one of the simple logistical things that kind of gets overlooked sometimes is where you're going to stay. We've had some very interesting stays over the last few years.
Yeah.
We've had hotel rooms with only one bed in them and a giant plate glass window across the front. That was definitely not the most secure place to stay. Let's see some of the other interesting things. Interesting campgrounds with terrible toilet/shower house options. Just different oddball hotel experiences and things along the way. So when you're traveling with guns, make sure that your partner does not book a hotel that's a gun-free zone. That's kind of important.
You mean like in the middle of a college campus, like Christian college campus?
Yeah. So, figure out those logistics ahead of time. Kind of have a game plan for, places that you can grab, stuff to toss in your cooler in the area that you're going to, and have some stuff that on hand. I know that there's been more than a few times we've tossed a package of lunch meat at the end of a match or something that we didn't really need, but there's also been times where if we didn't have those snacks and some of that logistical stuff, it would have been a nightmare to be out on a range all day without the refreshments or, whatever was necessary. So, yep, get your lodging figured out, get your food necessities figured out, and then you can really enjoy more of your trip instead of wondering, are we going to get broken into and assaulted in the middle of the night, and is that 14.5 pinned 3-gun rifle going to blind us and deafen us all? Because it probably will.
Especially with the D60. And
Brian, to add on that, so if you're doing a team match too, build up your team. Things like pre-match, is everyone been drinking water at work? You know, you're working Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before the match. Are you drinking that water? Are you hitting that Gatorade? Are you getting good sleep? You know, even if you're not shooting a team match, if you're going to a USPSA together, do you have sunscreen for everyone that's carpooling with you? Do you have extra bug spray? Those sort of things make the match go way better if you're all thinking like a team going into it and building your team, even if it's not a team match. You know, do you have spare shotgun caddies just in case somebody needs them? Do you have, you know, an extra D60, you know, sitting in the bed of the truck? You know, those sort of things make your overall match so much better. You know, when you're staying at a flea bit motel or whatever, you can take care of these things. Like, think of it as a team from the beginning. You know, how can we build each other up so that we have a successful match? Those would be good things to think about.
Oh, for sure. And if you don't have a match friend, you know, someone that lives like reasonably close or someone to travel to matches with, you know, go out and find someone. It's me and Mark, when he used to live around here, we had a handful of people that we all would drive down to matches, either carpool or meet down there and share lodging. And man, it goes so far from Ralph, or I mean, you come back from a crappy day of shooting and you got, you know, and it was still fun, but when you don't do as well as you'd like, it can be a little frustrating. And you got like good people to like grill out a bunch of steaks and, you know, have some drinks and all that. That makes matches so much more fun, because I mean, most of the reason we shoot these matches is for the people there.
Right. Don't forget that guy that, you know, he doesn't shoot so well, but he always has the moonshine. You got to have that guy with you, you know? Right.
Yeah. Did you have something else, Mike?
Well, I was also going to mention sometimes carpooling can be incredibly fun. I know Ryan and I have had some great conversations driving down to Tennessee and back, and have really enjoyed that friendship as well. And we've watched some interesting movies on the road too, some first time things there as well. So, yep, enjoy the whole experience. Carpool, save the earth, smaller carbon footprint.
There you go. So we'll get back on the kind of topic of Wolverine, and so I'm maybe a little more organized than some people, probably less than others, but like I'll give it. I know you can't see here. I actually create matchbooks for the matches that I'm shooting. I'll gather up. This is just like a Google Doc, and I'll share it with friends. When we were shooting Heartbreak, I had gathered it all up and gave the link out. For Wolverine, I have the pre-match information. They've been kind of teasing information online and pictures. I'm throwing all that in there. But part of the reason I want to show this, one of the things that I do before matches, and especially something like Wolverine, is I have a list here, skills and goals. So I could kind of read off a little. So I've got like the section under land nav, something that's a little new for me. I've done some reading and a little bit of practice, but not a lot. So I have like pace count with rut gear on. That is something that I want to get done before I go out there. The pace count's important for land navigation. I don't have a lot of experience with that. I know not only do I need to get my pace count, but I need to get it with the gear that I'm using in the match. I have practiced canoe navigation because there is a water navigation part. I'm fairly good with the canoe. I do a decent amount of canoeing, but it's all on rivers that I know. So maybe, you know, I'm going to be printing out a map here as soon as the weather gets a little bit nicer, hitting one of my local rivers, and I'm going to be following along in that map and making sure that I know right where I'm at all moments in time, and kind of get that learning out of the way before I'm on the water and going, oh crap, these curves don't look anything like the curves in water. I have rucking, so I've got a goal for 15-minute miles for 6 miles with 45 pounds. I want to make sure that I can do that before the match, so that me and my team, and I've shared this with our team, and we've kind of talked about this, and whether that's everyone else's goals, that's fine. That's what I feel like I need to be able to do to be a good asset to the team. And I have shooting. They have what they call it their roadie mic drill they've released that you'll be doing. That's something I'm going to be practicing in dry firing. 200 yards. I think they go out to 200 or 300 yards. So I'm going to be making sure I get my dope. I know my holds. out to 200 or 300 yards. I've got one-handed pistol shooting because there's a lot of manipulating things one-handed. So again, in dry fire and some live fire, I'm going to be practicing with strong hand, weak hand, all of that. Work on shooter spotting with radios. They've mentioned that there will be, in one of the match books, it was mentioning something about like there'll be a guy shooting and you'll be radioing information from him. I've done some matches where you use a radio, either communicating with your partner or communicating with like an RO or somebody, and as something as simple as keying up a ham radio and calling someone or a GMRS radio, it is way more complicated than you think when that clock's going and rushing, and you actually kind of have to hold, pause a second, say what you need, take your hand off, remember to take your hand off, wait for that. So all that stuff these are things that I want to practice specific goals. And then I have general fitness. My core needs to get stronger. I need to do squats. I need to be doing deadlifts. This is stuff I've been working on and will be working on, all kind of based off this pre-match intel. Now, Wolverine is a more physical match, so I have more fitness stuff, and also my shooting at this point in time is better than my fitness, so I'm kind of weighing that. If you're shooting a 3-gun match, it's probably not going to be as much fitness stuff. It's going to be more technical shooting stuff. Or if it's a USPSA match, same thing. If you know that they do all 32 round field courses, that's what you want to do. If it's a match that traditionally they have 3 or 4 really hard classifiers and they kind of mean something, then maybe I want to be practicing my classifiers. This it's match dependent, but I guess that's a good example of what we're doing on this match. I don't know. You got anything to add to that, Mike, as far as what you're doing for Wolverine?
So, yep, I'm following some pretty similar guidelines in terms of just doing some base cardio building and starting to think about the kit that I want to run and how I can benefit my team there. So I'm getting ready to launch into a more regimented dry fire routine and pull out the DMR rifle and start doing more like mock barricade work and things like that to prepare. And yeah, just sorting out the equipment, and I'm sure Ryan and I will get in some ruck times so we can kind of get some pace counts and see how it affects each other, because we both have different stride lengths. So it'll be good to kind of measure those and see how close we are, so we can kind of be double checking each other as we move from point to point in the orienteering type stuff. So, yep, similar guidelines, just trying to up that fitness and get that dry fire started and really up to par, because I, like a lot of other people right now, don't want to go through a ton of ammo just in a train up period.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have more to add to that, Mark?
Yeah, I would just say that there's some things that you don't know and that you don't know, right? So one of the things that I learned preparing for a run and gun was I had went to the range with all my kit on and slung my rifle and then started running, and didn't realize that the way I had my rifle slung put the objective lens of my red dot right on the base pad of my pistol mag, and it scratched the life out of that lens. I didn't know that until I got out there and was running with it. If you're like Ryan and you always wish you were a Texan and you have big steel belt buckle and you got your compass in front of you and it's always pointing north, that's something you want to figure out ahead of time. Those sort of things, joking aside, things like...
No matter what direction I face, it's always north. I don't get it.
Right? But, joking aside, take your matchbook and then put it into the match. So like at a run and gun, you usually have a good idea from the matchbook where the long range stages are. And so if you just shot your 3rd stage, 4 stages long range, you're going to have that mag that's got all that long range ammo in it, as your go-to load up mag, so you're not getting up there, oh, did I start with this mag? Oh, that was the wrong ammo. Let me switch, whatever it may be. Take the intel, all the work that we just talked about, and start putting it into practice into what you're going to do. And you'll kind of figure things out. You guys talked about the weight. Well, I'm going to carry just my regular rucking backpack. Well, it turns out 45 pounds on that with no frame is just garbage. So maybe I want to up the bag. I'm a heavier bag than I expected, but a better frame. And now I realize 45 pounds is nothing. Or a backpack with my plate carrier is terrible. I can't buckle my waist belt. It puts all the weight on my shoulders instead of my hips. All those things. Or that's a good one too. My bag is made to work on my hips. Well, I have a gun belt on my hips. Now, how does that work together? I can't draw my pistol. I have a bag, though. What you don't know is what you don't know until you kind of figure these things out. So you want to connect that pre-planning to pre-match to success at the match if you can. As many things as you can work out beforehand. There's a Eisenhower quote. He said that plans are worthless, but planning is indispensable. It's the kind of thing that you want to do. You feel like, oh, I know everything about Wolverine. It's going to be great. We're going to do blah, blah, blah. But when you get out there, it's going to be different. But all that work you do ahead of time, that's what's going to pay dividends for you. So that's what I'd add to that.
Yeah, and doing a new match, like part of the fun of, and we'll shoot a lot of matches we've always shot, and you kind of know what you're expecting, and you know who you're going to see. But adding that new match to the schedule is fun because, we've kind of looked at this stuff and like we want to give ourselves the best advantage we can. But I know for sure that we are going to show up and see something and be like, what in the world is this? I have never done this before. Like that's the fun part, I run my local 3-gun match. I know what's going to be there. It's still fun. It's still exciting, but it's kind of the same old thing. It's hard for me to think of things that I don't know what to expect. But you go to someone else's match or you go to a brand new formatted match, like, Wolverine is not a match we've shot before. It's kind of run and gun because you have a ruck part, you have this shooting part, but they're unlike regular running guns, are completely separate. And then you got the team aspect of it. I've done 2 or 3 person team matches. I've done 2 people team matches. I've never done a match with 4 people in a team. So like, again, that's new, that communicating. Mike's the only person in this group that I've shot a team match with. I know. No, in our Wolverine group. The Wolverine team, the 2 other people I've shot matches with, just never a team match. So one of them's done at least 1 team match. The other one, I'm not sure. I think he may have, but there's just all kinds of new things that you learn and you get to expect. So I guarantee we're going to get to a section where we're going to be like, whoa, what's going on here? And that I'm looking forward to that. I guess you got anything else to add as far as Wolverine and preparation, Mike?
Now, the one guy would probably say patrolling the mountains of Afghanistan is kind of a team match, but we'll have to double check with him.
Yeah, and that way he definitely he has tons of team experience. I guarantee that.
Nope, I think that for the evening we've thrown together a pretty decent look at some of the things to consider, and I'm looking forward to touching base more on our training and the match as time goes on.
Mark, you got anything else?
No, I just encourage everyone that if you're on the fence about a match, get out there, sign up for it, and have a good time, and see what you can learn from it. See, comment in the YouTube comments or on the Facebook comments if you've experienced any of these things, if you've seen these, if there's something that we didn't touch on that you think would be helpful, we'd be happy to hear it. So,
absolutely. We've been shooting for a while, but there's always new things to learn. If you've shot Wolverine and you want to like throw some information up there that like, oh man, those guys don't know what they're in for, here's what it's really like, I would absolutely love to hear that. And training, like the training up for it is a lot of the fun of it. We got, in this case, we signed up in, I want to say January or something for Wolverine, which is in June. I mean, you got and we were planning to shoot Wolverine last winter. So we've had, 6-8 months to plan and train for this. And that's a lot of fun. I mean, me and Mike exercise a decent amount together, and it's that extra incentive to, okay, well, we got a goal. We're doing more regular rucks now than we were doing, kind of preparing for that. And I'm doing a lot more core and, body weight stuff and muscle training than I have in the past. And that's partially from heartbreak. That's partially because I know what to expect here. And then partially because I just need to get my fitness better. And this is a good excuse to do it. So yeah, feel free to comment and let us know what you think. We'd love to get some feedback on this. So we're about 45 minutes here. We're gonna get off, but once again, this podcast video is sponsored by Primer & Co. And yeah, give us some feedback, and we'd love to hear from you. Have a great night.